sílẹ̀ sí ẹ kọrin.
Kí làwa ṣe? Ṣẹjọ́ làwa fàyè gbọ́. Kí làwa ṣe? Ṣèbáyé làwa jẹ níbí. Kí làwa ṣe? Ṣẹjọ́ làwa fàyè gbọ́. Kí làwa ṣe? Ṣèbáyé làwa.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Message Music for Motivation, MMM. This is a program where the right message meets with the right music for you to be motivated to make the right decision. Remember, this is a production of First Rated Media and PR Limited. And this program comes up every Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays by 6 p.m. We are broadcasting live from Champion 90.7 FM, and my name still remains Adedoyin Kukoyi. Get ready for another 60 minutes of inspiring messages, infectious music, and electrifying conversations. Now, before I get to unveil today's discussion as well as the guest, I need you to join our social media community. Be a part of the family by joining at MMM_NG234. MMM_NG234. Should you have questions, reservations, concerns, contributions, send in your messages. We will be responding to them via that handle. Our phone lines will be open shortly, so stay tuned. Don't touch the dial. The motivation party is about to start. Just few days ago, Nigeria's opposition parties formed a coalition aiming to challenge the ruling APC's dominance in the 2027 general elections. This development has sparked intense debate and speculation about the coalition's potential impact on the country's political landscape. As Nigeria's democracy continues to evolve, the success or failure of this coalition could have far-reaching consequences. With diverse members and leaders, the coalition faces both opportunities and challenges. Let's explore the implications of this coalition with a political commentator, a public affairs analyst, Mr. Ugo Wilson Uche. Good evening, Mr. Uche. Hello, sir. Good evening, sir. How are you today?
Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much for being part of our program today.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Uche Wilson Ugu, Deputy President, the Second Association of Tourism Practitioners of Nigeria, ATPN, is also a corporate sales partner, Ethiopian Airlines, Enugu. He is also the CEO, Trend Discoveries, founder, iTour Africa. Wilson Uche Ugu is a tourism and aviation strategist with a focus on regional development, youth engagement, and cultural diplomacy. As Deputy President, the second of ATPN, and founder of iTour Africa, he leads advocacy for sustainable tourism, subnational branding, and cross-sector collaboration. He is a graduate of the Foreign Policy School and member of the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs, NIIA. Mr. Wilson bridges policy, business, and culture to promote investment, connectivity, and tourism-driven economy growth, especially across Nigeria's southeast. His role with Ethiopia Airlines supports international mobility and trade, while his initiatives like Ala Igbo Amaka, Coal City Tour, and aviation career position him as a leading voice in Nigeria's tourism, diplomacy, and development space. Again, ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome to the studio Mr. Uche Ugu. Now, you can also be a part of this program, yes, by calling on 090-620-23907, 090-620-24907. Now, sir, let's get straight into today's program. A united opposition is the first step towards a brighter future for Nigeria, as it would strengthen our democracy. That is a quote I am going to be opening today's program with.
It has to do with the people.
Right.
And if it has to do with the people.
Right.
And if it has to do with the people, then we need to also bring into perspective the fact that people are meant to argue, people are meant to disagree. But the essence of their disagreement is not for you to mess things up. But of course, it comes in three ways. First of all, it comes as a checkmate to leaders or leadership, the leadership experience. So when you have people who always see things, because of course when you are in the position of leadership, there are certain things you are not opportune to be aware of. You rely mainly on what people come to tell you. Especially you don't have time to read the news or interact with the people. But of course, you have maybe people who you employ to do the same for you. You hear the special assistant that, special assistant the other way, and it is the information they bring to you that you feed on. But having said that, when there's a vibrant opposition and counter views, it helps you to check if what you are doing it right.
Right.
So coming to your question, I think it is I know it is a good development, because at some point it was like we are going into a unitary government whereby everybody has say. When somebody speaks against the government, it's either you are attacked or what, or you are bought over. Like we've seen that everybody is now rushing to the main party, the leading party. Of course, it doesn't give room for checks and balances. Now we see a legislative body. Remember that the three arms of body are meant to serve as checks for each other. When the executive arm of government is not getting it right, it is the legislator that ensures that they act within the ambit of the law. And then when both of them must have done their part and things are not going well, or there is disagreement, of course they go to the judiciary for things to be properly explained, put in the right perspective. But here we are. Nigeria at some point was tending towards no opposition. In short, it becomes an issue. I become concerned when leaders use the term that nobody should listen to them. They are naysayers. No. Every counter voice, every counter narrative has some lessons you need to pick from it. People should be given opportunity to speak their mind.
Right.
And in the case of the coalition, I feel in as much as they might have their different intentions for coming together, the fact remains that it is a good omen in our electioneering, and also our democracy is healthy if allowed to stay. Because we see a situation whereby, of course, different political parties they are under crisis. And sometimes it's insinuated that, of course, the leading party is instigating all this crisis. But I feel that what has happened is good for our democracy if it is properly handled. Then, like I said, some people say the reason why they are coming together is because we are disgruntled or failed politicians. Let me also say this, that no politician is a failed politician. Every politician is as important, because there will come a day when his opinion or his contribution will matter. As far as that person would have occupied a sensitive position, the person's vote, at least, if not for any other thing, some people can muster 10 votes, some people can muster 100 votes, some people can muster 1,000 votes. I have seen an election where people failed with 600 votes. So, how can you say that somebody who has risen to become maybe 2 tenure Senate president, he cannot be disgruntled? Maybe the expectation he had from the leading government didn't materialize, but that doesn't make him a failed politician. So, but having said that, we need to also begin to have respect for each other. Let us not play politics of bitterness, because those are the things that hits up our body politics.
Sir, since you made mention of someone who had been a member of the current party and all of that, now what do you make of the antecedents? I'm talking about the credentials of the politicians involved in this coalition.
I will tell you the truth.
Yes, please.
Like I mentioned earlier, everybody is important in the scheme of things.
Right.
They may have had a very not so good antecedents. Of course, I listened to the SCT minister where he started mentioning names and their achievements. And of course, he kept writing them off. I'm not expecting him to say anything other than what he said. But when you look critically into what he said, you find out that some of the things he said were true. I give you an instance.
Okay.
Our former Senate President, David Mark, of course, I've been to Otupo, and I tell you, it's one of the worst roads I've ever met. In short, the road that passed in front of his house, it remains untarred up to today. And I keep wondering, then, if they say charity begins at home, if truly your constituency cannot feel the impact
how much more
of democracy, how much more Nigeria? But that having been said, you cannot write off every politician that came there. We also have people who came with genuine intention. Somebody, I remember that the last election in 2023, when somebody said that, of course, the obedience are people who are maybe 3 or 4 persons inside a room and they are tweeting. The same set of people cleared the entire Lagos, winning it against the powerful politicians. The same 4 people tweeting muzzles over 6 million votes. And of course, there's an argument, there's a narrative that, of course, that's not the actual vote. But that's, by the way, that is what I'm trying to say, that no matter their antecedents, what we are saying is, if everybody agrees with the present government, there's a tendency that things will go sour. That people may not understand that they have a responsibility to Nigerians. People will now begin to do things anyhow. Democracy will no longer thrive. So the fact remains that being disgruntled, in quotes, is also part of the game. Everybody will not be on your path. And everybody should learn to accept when people are in the opposing side. Just look at what they are doing. Do the right thing you are supposed to do. And then what will happen is that you will now use your result to counter whatever anybody is bringing on board. But look at somebody like hereby, His Excellency hereby. The fact remains that all of them in that coalition aside from somebody like His Excellency P2B, they have one time or the other worked with the present government. And then I'm here in a situation whereby His Excellency Governor hereby, former Governor hereby, will now tell you that he's sorry that he sold a bad market to Nigerians. And I laugh over it. Because the truth about it is that it is only when it works in your own interest that it becomes good. When it's against your interest, it becomes a bad market. But we need to be sincere to ourselves. Sometimes you need those people assumed to have not too good antecedents in order to get things right. Because it can only take, there's an Igbo adage that says that it takes the rat that's in the house to tell the one outside that there's fish
inside
in the cupboard. So we need them to be able to tell us how best to beat, because of course they work together. They understand their secrets. They understand their strategies. So it takes somebody who understands your strategy to counter yours.
Okay, so far so good. What do you make of their approach?
Come again.
What do you make of their approach so far? Their plans, their strategies
I think
far?
the first thing first. I think it's not right in our democratic, in our system, for the government to use the instruments of governance against people, especially when election is coming. We must see the election umpire not to be biased. We must see them to be like that. That's why we see a situation whereby a sitting governor or a sitting president loses an election. It is not a must, because what the person is selling, having been in the place of authority or leadership, is what is achievement. So, but when we see a situation whereby people want to register, what's it called, a political party, and then INEC is not giving room for registration, when the Constitution says, what the Constitution says is that as far as people have gathered together and agreed, they need to inform. INEC is not the one registering. As far as you gather, you have set up an organization having a common purpose and ideology. INEC has no option than to recognize such body. It is only when such body, maybe their ideology, maybe their logo, maybe their flag, or maybe some of the things contained in their instruments of organization, it's running, maybe going against another one. That is when they will say, okay, fine, go home and change your logo. Go home is clashing with so person. So, but we see a situation whereby to go to register, I remember when I led the Youth Democratic Party of Nigeria, or a yet to be registered party for youths. INEC turned it down severally. And I felt it was not right. So INEC should not be seen as being biased. If at this point in time, the instruments, especially the election umpire, is seen to be biased, then there's no confidence in the electoral process. Secondly, you see a situation whereby people want to have their meeting without arms, with nothing, and then police is seen to come and block their entrance, especially the main opposition party. That sends a wrong signal. So finally, to round it up, I am saying that so far, the coalition, the steps they have taken, obviously, to them, it is best known to them. They have their strategy. Of course, before now, we thought it's going to be ADA. Then, of course, we now saw them ending up. Maybe it was supposed to be their plan B. Then everybody, we are now seeing all of them in ADC. But of course, immediately after they all declared for ADC, now you are seeing somebody like Tachuku, the former presidential candidate, who initially declared full support for the president, the president, have now resurrected and felt that this is the time for us to rescue ADC from grabber. You didn't do anything before. In short, you pledged loyalty and a support for the present government. So you just see that it is not right. We need to call a spade a spade. I am not supporting anybody. I'm not in coalition. Neither am I in the ruling party. But the fact remains that when you take up responsibility of leadership, you must be seen as being fair. Because if there is no fairness, where can we have justice? If there is no justice, there won't be peace.
There won't be peace if there is no justice. Sir, we'll quickly go on a break. When we come back, we will continue. It's still MMM with Doyin Kuko. You're coming to you live from Champion 90.7 FM. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back. It's still MMM with Doyin Kukoyi. Our guest on the program today is Mr. Ugo Wilson Uche, a public affairs analyst. Yes, sir. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you very much. Glad to be back.
Well, you know you can be part of this program by calling us on 090-620-23907. 090-620-24907. We're talking about the coalition. Yes, sir. My next question. Do you think they are formidable enough to unseat President Bola Tinubu?
I think this question is tricky. Tricky in the sense that, of course, everybody sees President Bola Ahmed Tinubu as one of the most sophisticated politicians in the history of Nigeria. But that doesn't mean that where you have the Goliath, you don't have the David.
Right.
So most times when we become too confident about our strategy, you see that a little mistake messes things up for us. So, in as much as he's formidable, he also needs to watch his back. Because most times you find out that it is that place where you least expected. Nobody ever imagined that anybody is going to win Lagos State from the president. In short, nobody expected that anybody is going to win Southwest from the president.
But it happened.
But but it happened. From what we saw, in short, it took some level of intervention where people were now being threatened not to come and vote. It would have been a landslide. So you now see that sometimes overconfidence, maybe counter narrative, how do they put it? It can actually fail you. So, but having said that, that's why I feel that nobody should ever write anybody off. The election should not be judged based on past antecedents. Remember, that some people failed and they have learned not to fail again.
Right.
So they learned their lesson. So why they are coming back again, they are come back, they are going to re-strategize. Just the same way I am seeing President Tinubu also re-strategizing never to lose Lagos again. Because of course he came so sudden to him and unaware. He was he was shocked beyond every reason, including myself. I was shocked. So having said that, I wouldn't say that they are formidable. I wouldn't say they are not formidable. Remember that these are old politicians. They understand the old ways. But my own is that when somebody is in leadership, when somebody is in the place of power, there's a whole lot that works for him. There are institutions of governance that he can use for himself. But at the same time, we also know that in history of Nigeria, we had a sitting president who lost the election. And the truth about it is that all the people, most of the people who worked towards making President Goodluck Jonathan lose the election are the people who are in the coalition as we speak. So don't write off their strategy.
Wow.
They believe that they made the president because they all worked for his victory. So when the people who you worked with, the team you worked with, decide to now come against you, then you need to be careful.
You need to be really careful. Now, sir, how do you think this coalition, will impact the Nigerian political landscape, particularly in the 2027 general election?
For me, I think to a large extent, I know it is near impossible for us to have a free and fair election in Nigeria. Why I say so is because the last election, it looks as if as we grow in our election, we are getting worse than what we got before now. I think the worst thing that can happen to anybody is to change the rules in the middle of the game. I was shedding tears when at some point everything was working smoothly and then the whole network was shut down and we were told there was network glitch. Ordinarily, even in the normal game that we play, if there is a network glitch, what happens? The game, the result will never be fair. An election must be seen to be fair and must be seen to communicate justice. So, I just feel that the same set of persons, Professor Mahmoud, is still in charge. He hasn't even come out to explain to Nigeria critically what caused glitch. But he's still organizing elections. What happened in Edo State should be a glimpse of what is going to happen in 2027. There was practically no election. In short, I saw a sitting governor almost crying like a baby. We must see these things to work, to be fair. We saw everything that happened around. Sometimes you see a situation whereby a candidate won clearly and a certain part is cancelled. And then when a new election is done, the entire vote that he was winning with will be wiped out in the new election. Something that you know that is near impossible. But it's only in Nigeria that you see these things possible. So, coming to their formidability, I am saying that it will take more than just hard work. It will take God, grace of God, to take power away from President Tinubu. And I am not ruling out that interventions like that can happen because it has happened. But at the same time, what I am saying is that the opposition need to do their due diligence, strategize properly.
All hands must be on deck.
All hands must be on deck. And another thing is, you know that when two elephants fight, the grass suffers.
You're right.
The people that actually bear the consequences of these big masquerades fighting are the people.
The common people.
I also felt that it was not right to have commenced campaign 2 years or halfway to the tenure. It is too early to distract ourselves. There is no longer anything we hear. Anytime they go to unveil a particular project, nobody is talking about democratic dividends again. It is now when people now begin to throw shades at each other. Politicians calling each other names. This is not what we elected you people to do. We elected you people to deliver dividends of democracy, and not for you to throw shades. Whose wife is the breadwinner, and whose wife is not who is a drunkard and who is not a drunkard? That is not what Nigerians need at this point in time. You are distracting us. You are distracting yourself. We need you to deliver good governance. And then before you know it, there's endorsement everywhere. I thought that these things come 6 months. And even there's a law that says that such campaign will receive a penalty for it. But of course, before you know it, there were endorsements everywhere. So what do you expect? The oppositions will not fold their arms and be watching things go. Several governors are decamping to the ruling party, and you want them to keep quiet. Then eventually when they decide to come together, then it becomes an issue. But people have been decamping from PDP to APC, from Labour Party to APC, and it wasn't against the Constitution. Then now it has become constitutionally not right and morally not right for people to converge and take a new position in their political drive. I think it's not right. We need to be fair. The present government and the ruling party needs to be fair to Nigerians.
Okay, thank you very much. We know that all of these people that have come to form this coalition, they all come from diverse backgrounds. Now, what are the drawbacks of this coalition, considering the diverse backgrounds of its members?
Again, there's never two brothers who has ever occupied the position of the president and the vice president.
True.
They definitely come from the way Nigeria is structured. The fact remains that if the president is from the south, the vice president will come from the north.
Right.
In order to form what we call balanced equation. So, but having said that, that means that none of these people will come from the same background. Even when you have people who are born from the same parents, they don't have the same mindset.
Even
they don't also agree in the same way. But it takes a parent who understands the differences among the family members, maybe a father or even a mother, to be able to manage the differences. Remember that our diversity is our strength. The diversity is our strength. But sometimes it can be disadvantageous. But in this case, it is not wrong for people to come from different backgrounds. It is not wrong for people to have different antecedents. It is not wrong for people to have different views and understanding. But what matters a lot is the leadership.
The leadership.
In every party you come to in Nigeria, there is no party that is exclusively having the same set of people with the same mindset. Of course, they can have their ideology, which of course you expect every other person who is coming into such party to align itself to it, to such ideology. But as we speak, presently in Nigeria, there is no party in Nigeria that has a strong ideology. They are all straight bed fellows. You can imagine where you have a lot of people who obviously were in PDP, and then you have the people who were in the former AC. Even when they brought together, they formed APC. If you look at CPC and AC, ATN, you definitely understand that there is no way they can come together. They have different ideology, and the people who are involved were people. CPC were made of people who are seen to be radical in their approach. ACN is seen as people who are more democratic. But how were they able to come together? They had a common goal. The goal was to remove President Goodluck Jonathan. And as we speak today, this coalition is also having one aim, which is to dispose President Tinubu from leadership. So, having said that, we are having different ideology. How are they going to work together? I think the main point we should be thinking about is what type of leadership, especially within their party structure, should come into place. If we have a good chairman who is able to harness their diversity, then bring them together, then I think they will definitely, even if they didn't win, they will definitely cause a very strong push and then get the government to sit up. Remember that most of these people are not pushovers.
They're not.
They also have their constituency. They have run for election. Somebody like former Vice President Atiku Abubakar also mustered over 6 million votes in the last election. So you are not going to write him off. You are not going to write him off.
Now, let's take a look at the role these let's say elder statesmen and stakeholders, like Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, like you mentioned, Mr. Peter Obi, Rotimi Amechi, El Rufai. Now, what role do you think these men will play in the coalition, given their leadership experience and influence?
Okay. I think to a large extent, there is some narrative at some point where, of course, there are some set of people who believed that the level of insecurity that we experience today are driven by a certain set of persons. I tell you the truth, some of them are very well grounded in strategic thinking. They are strategists. So everybody comes with whatever they are bringing on board. Some it could be that their the followership. Let me give you an instance. Somebody like His Excellency Peter Obi,
right,
who has a cult-like followers or followership, whereby anybody that attacks him, the whole obedient family will face that person. So you see that his followers didn't actually, even after losing election, one would have expected that some of them are going to give up. But continuously, for getting to 2 years plus, they have remained consistent and they are growing. If not for any other thing, his influence at the time he wanted to go to, Benue State, he was stopped by the governor. If the governor didn't feel threatened, he wouldn't have stopped him. Because, of course, everybody go to Benue and nobody has reported being killed or something like that. But why is it that he wanted to go and he was stopped? That is to tell you that it's not a pushover. So the influence they are going to bring into that coalition, remember that each and every one of them have their area of dominance. His Excellency Atiku Abubakar has a large control and followers around the North Central. and then the I think northeast or northwest where he's from. So it's not a pushover. If he is able to galvanize that level of support from the north and then a certain part of the south, then Peter Obi has a consistent followership from his home region. In short, in the last election, he won over 70% of the results from that region. That's the one that was declared. Some narratives, some people are saying that he won close to 90%. And that cannot be ruled out. Then you talk about the likes of former Governor Arebushola. If not for any other thing, he's going to reduce the southwest votes for the president and several other persons that are there. Then see the likes of Saraki, former Governor Bukola, the former Senate President Bukola Saraki. Then you talk about David Mark, Senator David Mark. Talk about hereby. If by now hereby is still in APC and working for APC, it is so easy for APC to win Kaduna State. But as we speak, the votes will definitely be divided. So they are going to play a critical role. But the question here is, two things are involved.
Okay.
Are we going to have a free and fair election? Will the votes count? Because all these things we are bringing up are permutations. Which, of course, if you go and vote and your vote does not count, then such permutation does not work. So we are likely seeing a situation whereby it's either we are going to see people vote and ensure that their votes count and make sure that their votes count, or we see a situation whereby INEC, as usual, will do what they know how best to do.
Sir, now...
But I know that 2027 election is not going to be an easy task
it won't be an
for
easy
His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Now, let me quickly ask this question. Will the coalition's leadership structure, you have the likes of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, Mr. Peter Obi, Rufai Aregbesola, and all of those people, do you think the coalition leadership structure will contribute to its success or create potential power struggle?
At the point where we are now, I think it's too early for us to ascertain how far they will go. They are just coming together. And I believe that the most critical point in this coalition is going to be choosing a presidential candidate. Because I see that some of the people who, of course, form the nucleus of this coalition are very ambitious. Why do we have the issue we have today between the PDP? Some will tell you that it was because, of course, SCC minister thought that he's going to win the election. Of course, he has done everything he did that night during their primaries. It was already concluded that he's winning, he's cruising. But of course, something happened. That was coming from His Excellency Tambuwa. Of course, Minister Wike expected that, having worked for the victory of Tambuwa in the tribunal and having supported him all along, even at some point, him becoming a strong player in the PDP Governors Forum. I think he was the leader of PDP Governors Forum at some point, and got all the support he needed from Minister Wike. But at the end, when the chip was down, of course he made his decision, and that decision changed everything. Just a 1 minute decision. And of course, Wike, like every other person, felt disappointed and betrayed. I also see that playing out. Because let me tell you that President Tinubu will not fold his arm and want a coalition to work is likely to plant stoops among them, who is going to also throw spanner in their wheel. So these are strategies. And don't also rule out that people who are with the president today may eventually at the dying minute switch. So anything is possible here. But the most important thing is that the coalition understand that if they can only have one ticket, and that ticket has one presidential candidate, everybody will not be presidential candidates.
Right.
So the fact remains that whoever that is chosen, all of them should be able to rally around that person and then push for them to win. Of course, when Minister Wike couldn't get the presidential ticket, of course, it's assumed that he requested to be running mate. Of course, I have heard several times former Vice President Atiku Abubakar also said that Wike is bitter because he didn't give him the vice presidential ticket. Of course, he felt that he invested so much in the whole process.
And he deserved
but of
tickets.
Course, Vice President Atiku Abubakar also knew why he didn't choose him. But having said this, that singular act turned PDP into what we are seeing today. And we know that just that eventually destroyed PDP. And the PDP is almost about to be buried.
It's still MMM with Doyin Kukoyi coming to you live from Champion 90.7 FM. Our guest today is a public affairs analyst, Mr. Ugo Wilson Uche. You can be a part of this program by calling us on 090-620-23907, 090-2024-907. We are going to go on another break. When we come back, we will continue with Mr. Uche Wilson Uche. Don't go anywhere.
So make we stop all this hypocrisy. Make we get patience more. Build better democracy. Hori.
With a veteran media personality and seasoned actress Doyin Kukoyi on Champion FM 90.7 every Monday, Wednesday and Friday 6 p.m. for your perfect blend of inspiring messages, electrifying conversations from our seasoned guests, infectious beats and music from loaded playlist. Message music for motivation. where motivation meets inspiration every single time. Join eloquent Doyin Kukoyi on this program every Monday, Wednesday and Friday 6 p.m. on Champion FM 90.7. You can show that will ignite your life in a positive way. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok at MMM_234 to win some surprising, fantastic rewards. This program is a production of Force Rated Media and PR Limited and proudly supported by Amala Eco Restaurant in Nairobi, Kenya and in the city of Ikeja, Lagos, Nigeria.
So therefore, community, oh democracy, oh politician, Surulere, ẹ má jẹ́ àbáyọ̀ fọ́. Oh legislator, oh certificate, oh master, oh Mrs. On a democracy, let's see, ẹ kọrin.
Welcome back. It's still MMM with Doyin Kukoyi coming to you live from Champion 90.7 FM. Now, the 2027 elections will be a litmus test for the opposition coalition strength and viability. Our guest is still here with us in the person of Mr. Ugo Wilson Uche, a public affairs analyst. Now, sir, how might the appointment of David Mark, Rauf Aregbesola, and Bolaji Abdullahi as interim leaders shape the coalition's direction?
All right. thank you very much. I think it was very strategic. Strategic in the sense to reason being that let's take on Rauf Areboshala, former governor Rauf Areboshala. He was among the president's think tank. He was one of the president's support base. But somehow something happened and then he fell off. Of course, we are told that the politics in Osun State played up, and that is why we are where we are today. And nobody could have believed that having served as a commissioner under the president, while the president was the governor of Lagos State, in short, he was among his economic team. And even after that, he has always been a strong ally to the president. So one would say that he knows the president. He's the kitchen cabinet in president's line of it. In short, his first 11, Areboshala is among them. And we are told that some of the things he was able to achieve in Lagos was actually driven by this same Areboshala. I am also told that he is also a political bigweight, especially in the Southwest. So it's strategic, taking the secretary to come from the home base of the president. Of course, nobody is expecting the Southwest to produce the presidential candidate. So, of course, if either a presidential candidate is coming from the North or the South, but however, whichever way it goes, the fact remains that one will consider either Southeast or South-South, since the president is from Southwest. And now, for them to have chosen the secretary of the party, the interim secretary of the party, to come from the Southwest, it obviously rules out the possibility of Southwesterner being either the presidential candidate or the vice presidential candidate. The same thing, if you look at the North Central today feel disadvantaged. To a large extent, the level of insecurity being experienced in the North Central is somehow taking a political point. The North Central are truly dissatisfied with the present government, especially with the level of insecurity. And then they feel that, of course, there are people who are untouchable. And then they feel that they see themselves as second-class citizens of Nigeria. So choosing the chairman of the party, and remember very well that in APC today, the crisis that APC is having is as a result of some people feeling that, of course, if you removed our EHIU, no, not EHIU, if you remove the former APC chairman, who is, in quotes, from the North Central, he should have been replaced by somebody from the North Central. But now we are seeing the chairman who just resigned, likely to pave way for the right thing to be done. Because, of course, if I believe that the government, the present government, would have had a hint of what the opposition is likely to do. And today we are seeing the results. They've chosen somebody, the chairman is coming from this thing. But of course, I don't see Senator David Mark as being that too strong to be able to mobilize the level, because of course he didn't do much for the North Central. But because we have the likes of Suchuan, in short, within that region, we have a lot of people coming from that angle.
Finally, sir, in less than 1 minute, what is the place of ordinary Nigerians in all of this, since politicians are reputable for their interests? In less than 1 minute before we go.
The truth is that I don't see any place for Nigerians. Politicians are just playing their game. And Nigerians are only going to, you see a situation whereby, of course, tomorrow when they come out for campaign, you see that Nigerians are going to be divided either in regions or tribes, ethnics, religion. They are going to use it to divide us. And when they come, they are going to share money. And people are going to collect and vote for them because they learned what to do. Before you vote, you snap, and then you come and collect money. So that becomes a proof for you to collect your money. So the fact remains that Nigerians have always paid the ultimate price. People are going to die because they would want to stand their ground, and of course, things are going to happen to them.
Thank you.
The fact remains that at the end,
Yes.
Nigerians are going to pay the price, and politicians are going to win for themselves.
For themselves.
I don't
Thank
see
you very
Nigerians
much.
winning here.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Thank you so very much, sir. We've been speaking with a political commentator, public affairs analyst, Mr. Ugo Wilson Uche. Thank you for agreeing to be part of this program today. We wish you the very best, sir.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure. It was my pleasure being here.
Before we go, we'll leave you with this message. The success of this coalition will depend on its ability to transcend individual interest and work towards a common goal. That is it today on today's program. I remain yours sincerely, Ade Doyin. Special thank you to the producer, Ade Obayinka. Olamide is here. Michael has been the one pressing the button. By God's grace, I will see you again, same time, same station on Monday. Until then, have a good evening. Bye-bye.
ọ̀nà democracy lẹ́sìn ẹ̀kọ́rin.
kí làwa ṣe ṣẹjọ́ làwa fàyè gbọ́ kí làwa ṣe ṣèbáyé làwa jẹ níbí kí làwa ṣe ṣẹjọ́ làwa fàyè gbọ́ kí làwa ṣe ṣèbáyé làwa jẹ níbí ẹ bá fi ẹlẹ ẹjẹ àjàyè orí níbí bó bá dọ̀la ká ní ara wàhálà wa lọ.
bàbá ní aṣọ kò sọjà abára lé o. if we search ourselves nobody innocent o. bàbá ní aṣọ kò sọjà.
lówùlẹ̀ ń gbọ́ ajẹ́ kókó ẹ lómìnú ajẹ́ kó yà ẹ́ lẹ́nu ẹni tó jáwé olúborí òun ni wọ́n pè ní aṣíwájú champion 90.7 FM.
champion 90.7 FM.
rédíò kan àrà ọ̀tọ̀ tó ń sọ̀rọ̀ èyí tọ́mọ aráyé fẹ́ gbọ́n sétí.
champion 90.7 FM.
champion 90.7 FM.
champion 90.7 FM.
gẹ́gẹ́ ńlágo méje alẹ́ lò láti iléeṣẹ́ champion fm 90.7. ẹ káalẹ́ àsìkò àtàárọ̀ ìròyìn àpapọ̀ ló ń dé sétí ìgbọ́yín láti iléeṣẹ́ champion fm 90.7 ọlámídé abíọ́dún lóníròyìn. igbákejì ààrẹ orílẹ̀-èdè yìí kashim shettima ti sọ lónìí pé kì í ṣe àtúnṣe ọ̀nà àtàwọn ohun amáyédẹrùn nìkan ní ìṣàkóso ààrẹ tinubu mú níṣẹ́ ó ní ààrẹ tinubu tún ṣe àtúnṣe ìgbẹ́kẹ̀lé láàrin àwọn olóṣèlú àti ìfọkàntán láàrin ìjọba àtàwọn aráàlú lásìkò tó ń sọ̀rọ̀ níbi ìfilọ́lẹ̀ ọjà tuntun kan lágbègbè gwagwalada lólùlú ilẹ̀ wa àbújá níbi tó ti ṣojú ààrẹ bọ́lá tinubu shettima tẹnumọ́ pé àsìkò ìlérí òfò ti kọjá lórílẹ̀‐èdè yìí ó ní ìṣàkóso tó wà lórí àlééfà báyìí nígbàgbọ́ nínú ìṣèjọba tó ń tẹ́tí sí èrò aráàlú àti mímú mùkútùn ètò ìṣèjọba àwa ara wa dé ọ̀dọ̀ wọn ó wá gbóríyìn fún ọ̀nà tí mínísítà olú ìlú ilẹ̀ wa àbújá ìyẹn Nyesom Wike fún ọ̀nà tó ń gbà láti ṣiṣẹ́ tí wọ́n torí rẹ̀ yàn án sípò léyìí tí kò jẹ́ kí ariwo àwọn aláìní kan ṣe kọdí láti tẹ̀síwájú nínú iṣẹ́ ọ̀hún. ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú All Progressives Congress APC ti ṣàpèjúwe ìṣàfihàn ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú African Democratic Congress ADC gẹ́gẹ́ bí àkójọpọ̀ irọ́ ń parọ́ fúnrọ́ léyìí tí kò ní àǹfààní àti rí àṣeyọrí kankan fún orílẹ̀-èdè yìí lọ́jọ́ iwájú. Nínú ọ̀rọ̀ tí akọ̀wé ìpolongo ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú APC Felix Morka sọ lónìí, ó láwọn onímọ̀ tara ẹni nìkan tó ń wá ipò agbára ní tipátipá ni wọ́n kó ara wọn jọ sínú ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú ADC. Ó ní àwọn adarí ẹgbẹ́ náà rò pé àwọn ọmọ orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà kò mọ ohun tí wọ́n ń ṣe àti pé wọn ò tí ì lajú. Ó ní àmọ́ ṣá, ṣe ni wípé kò sẹ́ni tó lè tan ọmọ orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà jẹ mọ́. Morka sọ pé ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú APC kò ní yẹ̀ kúrò lórí àdìsọ́kàn wọn nínú kíkọ́ orílẹ̀-èdè tó lágbára àtàwọn àṣeyọrí ìyípadà tí ìjọba Tinubu dáwọ́lé. Mínísítà fẹ́tò ìrìnnà ọkọ̀ òfurufú tẹ́lẹ̀ rí Hadi Sirika ti sọ̀rọ̀ tako ìròyìn tó sọ pé òun ti darapọ̀ mọ́ ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú African Democratic Congress ADC tó jẹ́ ẹgbẹ́ tó ń pèpè fáwọn olóṣèlú alátakò láti fìbò yọ ààrẹ Bọ́lá Tinubu kúrò nípò lọ́dún 2027. Sirika fèsì ọ̀rọ̀ yìí láti tako ọ̀rọ̀ tí Nyesom Wike àti Bayo Onanuga sọ nípa pé òun gbèrò láti fẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú APC sílẹ̀. Ó fi kún ọ̀rọ̀ rẹ̀ pé nínú àwọn àgbà ẹgbẹ́ tó mọ̀ sí ìdásílẹ̀ ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú APC lòun wà. Ó ní kò sí èrò láti fi ẹgbẹ́ ọ̀hún sílẹ̀ àti pé ibi tí ààrẹ tẹ́lẹ̀ rí Muhammadu Buhari bá wà òun lòun wà o. Ó ní kí Wike àti Bayo Onanuga máa ṣe ìwádìí ọ̀rọ̀ tí wọ́n bá fẹ́ sọ dáadáa